Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and today we are honored to be joined by Teresa Tomeo, a seasoned Catholic talk show and radio host. You might be familiar with Catholic Connection on EWTN, and of course, motivational speaker with over 40 years in media. She also leads pilgrimages through Italy, sharing her insights on travelitalyexpert.com. My goodness, good morning and welcome to the show, Teresa.
Hey, it's great to be with you guys. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us, Teresa. Real quick, I have to say, I wasn't expecting to see any Italian recipes in your book. So when I saw the bucatini recipe, I knew I had to strategically place the book open to that page where my wife could see it in the kitchen. Otherwise, I don't think I would have gotten it. But I'm a very food motivated. But thank you. That was I was so pleased to see that, and as well as so many other things in the book. But the Jubilee year, obviously, we're here. It's a time of hope and renewal. Very exciting time. So I'm curious, how can this year be particularly transformative for pilgrims visiting Italy?
Well, that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, and thanks for having me on, because in the book, Italy's Shrines and Wonders, what I do is I give people a lot of really good information, but I always give them, when I consult with people on my Travel Italy Expert consultation company, which I've been doing now for over 6 years, I try to give them a slice of life in Italy, because you're not going to have a transformative experience if you rush from St. Peter's to St. John Lateran to St. Paul outside the walls to the Churchill. I mean, wherever you're going, people tend to say, I have to get this off my bucket list. But then by the end of the trip, it hasn't been a pilgrimage, it's been a marathon, right? And it's supposed to be a journey. So what I do in the book is I outline each region, and I help people say, okay, first thing you need to do is don't pile on too much and slow down. Because if you want to take in what you're going to experience walking through the holy doors at St. Peter's or the other major basilicas, or if you're going to really experience the beauty of the Sistine Chapel, or wherever you're going, you need to just be able to reflect and ponder at some point. And so I'm really kind of strict about saying no more than one tour a day. And people are freaked out by that, but they're saying, well, we only have a week or 10 days. I'm like, okay, this is my advice. I've been there over 60 times. I lived there half the year. I'm telling you, your mind is going to be blown by the beauty. But you're not going to be able to comprehend it if you're running from place to place. So if you want a transformative experience, slow down and be very picky about your itinerary and your agenda in terms of what you want to see when you go to Italy, especially for the Jubilee year.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's definitely going to be larger crowds expected this time of year. And I'm sure you advise travelers to prepare for a little bit more patience than typical.
Yes.
So what are some prayers or reflections that can help pilgrims maintain their peace and focus during such times? And maybe, I don't know, just in general, because I know it just feels like there's not enough peace right now for whatever reason.
Well, I think, as you said, you have to pack your patience, but you also have to pack some practicality. And so thinking about Italy in the Jubilee year, right now, if you're thinking about going, through March will be a really good time to go, and also late fall, where the crowds are really died down, and it's a whole different experience. And so I think maybe just take your favorite saints with you. I have a lot of the saints in the book, and there are even some prayers in the book. But if there are particular prayers of saints that you enjoy, take them with you. Because even if you go on an organized trip, which I highly recommend, especially if you're going to Italy for the first time, it is going to be crowded. But I would never say, stop, don't go because of the crowds. But just, I would think, bring your Magnificat, bring your Word Among Us, make sure you're prayed up, and make sure you continue to pray. And ask God to show you, to surprise you on the pilgrimage. Lord, what do you want me to see? What do you want me to learn about? How do you want me to see this particular piece of religious art, whether it be the David or the Baldacchino in St. Peter's or the Pietà? How do you want me to see this? What are you trying to say? And then ask God for more insight on the creativity that he gives us in Italy, not only through the artists that he created himself. So you've got this whole experience going on when you're looking at the art. You're saying, "Oh my gosh, who made this?" And Michelangelo did the David, and you've got the Pietà, and you've got the Sistine Chapel. And you say, oh my gosh, who made this? And you think about God. You think about the artist, and you think about the God who made the artist. And so just get prayed up and ask God to show you what he wants you to see, maybe differently, about the church, about the saints, and about the creativity of the artists and him as well.
What I like too about your book is that you do go into some of these saints that are, maybe have lived in that specific region. So, like you mentioned, knowing about the saints, it's a great way. Probably is a great travel companion when you're going to Italy, so kind of the ins and outs, and like you said, taking it slow. For those out there who might not be able to make the trip, how can listeners incorporate the spiritual essence of Italy's shrine maybe into their daily prayer?
Well, I think I designed the book for both those who are going to Italy, whether this year or maybe next year or sometime in the future, or even those who maybe don't have it on their bucket list and just want to learn more about it. It really could be an armchair pilgrimage. And it actually could be even something you could do in a study group, because EWTN has been so gracious. And I actually recorded a Learn series associated with the book, shot all on location in Italy. And it's going to be pulled together by the spring. I think we're going to release it right before Easter. So that's something else you could do. We walk you through these various places. We even take you to the tomb of Carlo Acutis, of course, who's going to be beatified later this year, right around Easter time. And so this is a type of book you could sit down, you can learn about the saints and learn about the art, and have, I think, a real spiritual experience without ever leaving your home. It's a great point of discussion, I think, for a couple to sit down and say, let's read about Saint Foligno, Saint Angelina of Foligno, or let's learn more about the home of Saint Benedict and Saint Scholastica, where they're from. And so I think that's a way, if they're not going, that they can really have a transformative experience in their own home, especially during Lent. If you get this book during Lent, you can travel to these different regions and learn more about the saints. And there's so many saints, especially in the place where my husband and I live part-time in Umbria, that's known as not only the green heart of Italy, the Cora Verde, but it's also known as the land of the saints. There's over 35 saints in Umbria alone, which is mind-boggling, just crazy.
Yeah. So this armchair pilgrimage book, is this already out? Okay, cool.
The book, yes, it's out now, and it's in stock at EWTN, so you can get it, the EWTN Religious Catalog, and it's EWTNRC.com. It's so many people are talking about it being a coffee table book, which is interesting. And I know this is radio. I can see you guys, our listeners can't see this, but when you go on to the EWTN website to see it, and Debbie Georgiani, my good friend, who's of course with GRN and EWTN, got the book, and being a fellow Italian, she loved it. And the pictures are gorgeous. We have so many photos in there. And you mentioned the recipes. What's different about this book is we're calling it the Ultimate Guidebook, not just the Ultimate Catholic Italian Guidebook, but the Ultimate Italian Guidebook, because we have recipes at the end of each chapter. We take you into the life of the Italians. What's it like living in Italy? What does it mean to have a celebration of the saints? And our story of how my husband and I, both FBI's, full-blooded Italians, got connected to Italy in the first place.
That's so cool. This book specifically talks about discovering the gems off Italy's beaten path. Do you have any story or experience from these lesser-known shrines? Share with us.
Oh my goodness. We need like 3 hours and 3 days. So the cover of the book is Madonna della Corona, which is a shrine in northern Italy along Lake Garda. And Lake Garda, of course, is north. And if you go east from Garda, you go to Venice. But this shrine is incredible. It is actually built into the side of a mountain. And so you have to go way, 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 way up to the top of the mountain in order to get there. And it's just absolutely incredible. And they have Stations of the Cross that are made from the rocks of the mountains. So that's one of the shrines. And a place very, very close to us in the region of Umbria is a place called Madonna del Bagni, Madonna of the Bath. And it's this little church that was actually built by a married couple in gratitude for a healing that occurred after asking the Blessed Mother for her intercession. And so it's right below this ceramics capital of Deruta. And so people go to this church, and there's over 700 plaques in this little church, which describes in an artist's hand the prayer that was answered. So you walk into this shrine, and there's these plaques everywhere. And it's this little shrine off the beaten path, off the freeway, on the way to Assisi. And there are countless places like that in Italy.
Wow, I mean, you hear all the big names, but to see some of these lesser known ones has to be incredible. And probably there isn't too many people going to these particular lesser known shrines, would you say?
Could you repeat that? You broke up, hon.
Oh, no, that's okay. These lesser known shrines, would you say that there's not a lot of people that know about these? So it probably isn't too packed full of people?
That's exactly right. And that's why I write about them. I'm hoping to change that. I don't want too many people coming, but I want enough to learn about these different shrines. But yes, and it's funny because you can drive anywhere in Italy, wherever you are, and you'll see a sign for this shrine or that shrine. but you're busy and you're going to your next major site, so you don't stop. And so one of the things I say in the book is if you see one of those signs along the road, you might want to pull over and see what it's all about. We actually found out about this shrine. It's literally 10 minutes from where we live in Umbria. From a tour guide, we were leading a pilgrimage 2 years ago, and we're going down the road from Assisi to another beautiful town called Todi, and we passed the sign that said Madonna del Bagni, and the guide said, "You live here, have you been to this shrine?" I said, "No, we haven't had time." She goes, "You have to go. It's amazing." And so we made an effort on our own to go there, and it's just phenomenal. And I really, really emphasize in this book, again, as we said in the beginning of the interview, in order to really enjoy Italy, you have to savor it. You can't rush through it. And don't give yourself an itinerary where you're covering so much in so little time. You have to slow down.
Slow down, savor. I like that, because in any good Italian recipe, it's good to slow down and savor it. So just like this, the pilgrimage makes sense. Yep. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much, Teresa. Now, for those out there who are wondering what this book we're talking about, it's Italy, Shrines and Wonders, Discovering Sacred Spaces, Fascinating Places, and Destinations Off the Beaten Path. We'll have the link to the book in the show notes. You can also find more of Teresa just by visiting teresatomeo.com or travelitalyexpert.com. And don't forget to tune into her show, Catholic Connection, every weekday at 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. My goodness, thank you so much, Teresa, for joining us this morning. It's been really great.
You're welcome, guys, and a big hug to all my listeners down there, and of course, obviously in Washington, D.C. and other places where GRN has so many stations. You guys do a great job, and I love your people, especially Toya and Debbie and you guys, so thank you so much. But get the book. It's so pretty. I really want you to enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Teresa. And that is it for today's edition of Morning Joy, where truth matters. Now, of course, there's a couple paths we can take if you're listening on the radio and you're going to stay tuned for the Holy Mass. Please pray for us. We will always continue to pray for you. Otherwise, we're about to transition on over to our after show clubhouse. This is a great way for us to debrief from the show, extend the conversation, have a little fun, and of course, hang out with you. That's right, it's all interactive. So if you're on the radio, go ahead and search for Morning Joy Radio. Just search Morning Joy Radio on YouTube, Rumble, really any of the social medias, and you'll find us. But if this is us truly parting ways for the day, God bless. Make it a joyful Thursday, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern, here on Morning Joy, where truth matters. We'll see you.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.